What exactly is going on in America's heartland? With land being scooped up by the likes of Bill Gates and the Chinese government, on top of a nationwide egg shortage, is our nation being destabilized for something worse yet to come? Welcome back to Dark Frontier. If you've gone to a supermarket or grocery store lately, chances are you've noticed the soaring price of eggs on the shelf. If you can find any left, that is. While consumers are no strangers to devastating supply chain issues stemming from the 2020 pandemic, the yoke of the problem seems to be a dark sign of an uncertain future. In late January, a TikTok user by the name of Kirsten Gilman posted a video entitled Chick Conspiracy. It immediately went viral, with over 139,000 shares and 500,000 likes.
Well, here's a chicken conspiracy for you that's not really a conspiracy. It's being confirmed not only here in our house, but apparently all over the nation. And nobody said anything about it because we all just assumed it was winter. They stopped laying in the winter as much. And come to find out that everybody across the nation stopped getting eggs from their chickens altogether. Nobody got a single egg all winter.
In the video, she posited that the egg shortage was caused by a popular brand of chicken feed, Country Road Scratch Grain, which was effectively stopping their chickens' reproduction. We just assumed it was winter. Chickens stop laying eggs in the winter. Other farmers have reported that they haven't had eggs since the end of September through October. We hadn't had a single egg all winter, Gilman explained. But they had one that flew the coop. One of her chickens had escaped, had been laying eggs the whole time she was gone, without the feed. Gilman and several other farmers had been perplexed by the lack of even a single egg all winter, until they found a startling conclusion: the Country Road chicken feed. Everyone that had been feeding them this feed stopped receiving eggs, she said. The reason, as many other like-minded users determined, was to gouge the price of eggs and prevent most rural Americans from living off the land and the fruits of their own labor. The Associated Press conducted a fact check shortly after the video and associated claims went viral. This fact check pulled statements from several of the nation's largest suppliers. We confirm that there have not been formulation changes to Purina poultry feed products. Brooke Dillon, a spokesperson for Land O'Lakes, the parent company for Purina Nutrition, said in an email. Mary Wynn Pilkington, a spokesperson for Tractor Supply, said that its suppliers confirmed there has been, quote, no change to the nutritional profile of their feed products. So, while the fact check quoted these two companies, there's been no statement released, even in passing, by agribusiness multinational giant Cargill Inc, the largest privately owned corporation in the United States, and the company behind the Country Road brand of chicken feed. Country roads may lead to West Virginia, but the Cargill Road leads somewhere far more curious: a new world order. Cargill has over 160,000 employees in 70 countries, and a footprint of over 125 countries. Aside from deforestation and child labor, Cargill has a troubling history within the export industry, stemming from the 1970s into the early 2000s. In 1970, Cargill sold 63,000 tons of seed grain to Basra, Iraq, that had been treated with methyl mercury, but failed to note in any language other than English that it was meant for agriculture and not human consumption. The Iraqi government distributed the seeds as part of various care programs, and 93 people died as a result. In 2007 and 2009, Cargill came under fire again for exporting beef contaminated with E. coli to the US and Japan. Cargill's harsh criticism for deforestation and child labor stems from the giant's control of over 50% of soybean production in Brazil, also known as the soy basket of the world. Soybeans are often used in meat replacement products such as tofu, as well as animal feed, specifically chicken feed. But what does Cargill gain from contaminating chicken feed, rendering US farmers' egg production inert? In 2017, Cargill received national attention for partnering with Bill Gates on a push to produce lab-grown meat. Bloomberg reported that Gates, Cargill, and other industry names had invested over $17 million into fledgling technology startup Memphis Meats, with the goal of making meat from self-producing animal cells amid rising consumer demand for protein that's less reliant on feed, land, and water. So what ignited this run for replacement meat? Just a few short years before Cargill, Bill Gates and other entities came together for a slaughter-free, meat-free world. The Fourth Industrial Revolution was beginning. Klaus Schwab, chairperson for the World Economic Forum, or WEF, initially coined the phrase in 2015, before making it a key point of the WEF's annual meeting in Davos, Switzerland in 2016. A quick look at the WEF's partners reveals that Bill Gates and Cargill are both partners of the organization. The Fourth Industrial Revolution, Schwab explained to the WEF, was the logical next step for the advancement of civilization, where the first revolution saw mankind transition from manual labor to machines through steam power. The second saw advancement through the railroad and telegraph networks. And the third revolution was known as digital, for the world's embrace of modern technology. The fourth would be even more cutting edge, a new revolution for the imagination age, with a focus on artificial intelligence, automation, and sustainability. And what better time for a new world revolution than to replace one that has just been devastated by a global pandemic? But first, the WEF had to figure out what that would look like. And what better way to do that than a good old-fashioned war game? In October 2019, the Johns Hopkins Center for Health Security held one of their frequently conducted exercises to severe real-world events, including political turmoil, bioterror attacks, and global pandemics. That particular year, the center had two peculiar sponsors, the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and the WEF. That year's scenario? Event 201. A coronavirus pandemic. According to the CHS, the exercise illustrated areas where public-private partnerships will be necessary during the response to a severe pandemic in order to diminish large-scale economic and societal consequences. Event 201 simulated the effects of a fictional coronavirus, passing to humans via infected pig farms in Brazil, with no possibility of a vaccine being available in the first year, according to the scenario. The simulation ended after 18 months and 65 million deaths. Just 2 months later, the city of Wuhan, China would become ground zero for our very real coronavirus pandemic. And Event 201 would serve as a very conveniently timed blueprint. In June of 2020, the world was still in the early throes of the COVID-19 pandemic, and the WEF revealed their grand plan for a more sustainable future. The Great Reset, as they called it. Prince Charles, now King of England, spoke at the opening of the WEF's 2020 virtual conference. The pandemic was the result of a breakdown in the link between humanity and nature that could be corrected by recognizing the interdependence of all living things. We have a unique but rapidly shrinking window of opportunity to learn lessons and reset ourselves on a more sustainable path. Klaus Schwab then described the three core components of the Great Reset, creating conditions for what he called a stakeholder economy, building a more resilient, equitable, and sustainable way by utilizing ESG metrics, and harnessing the innovations of the Fourth Industrial Revolution, including green growth, smarter growth, and fairer growth. And one of the WEF's key points in the Great Reset? Control. Children's Health Defense, a globally reaching nonprofit organization, broke down the impact of the WEF's Great Reset in November 2020, speaking to several nutritional experts at the time. Vandana Shiva, a scholar, environmentalist, food sovereignty advocate, and author, told Children's Health Defense, The Great Reset is about multinational corporate stakeholders at the World Economic Forum controlling as many elements of planetary life as they possibly can, from the digital data humans produce to each morsel of food we eat. The World Economic Forum's plans for the reset of food and agriculture include projects that favor genetically modified organisms, lab-made proteins, and pharmaceuticals, all as solutions to food and health issues. The WEF during that time promoted and partnered with an organization called Eat Forum. Eat Forum described themselves as Davos for food, with the aim to add value to business and industry and, quote, set the political agenda. Eat was co-founded by Wellcome Trust, an organization established with funds from pharmaceutical megacorporation GSK, an organization that also received funding from the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation over a 4-year period. EAT collaborates with nearly 40 major governments worldwide and assists the United Nations Children Fund in creation of new dietary guidelines and sustainable development initiatives. EAT Network also interacts closely with some of the biggest imitation food companies, including Impossible Foods. They frame it as healthy and sustainable, which of course it is neither. Frederick Leroy, a food science and biotechnology professor at University of Brussels, told Children's Health Defense, Impossible Foods was initially co-funded by Google, Jeff Bezos, and Bill Gates. 2020 lab results collected by Children's Health Defense showed the company's imitation meat contained glyphosate levels 11 times higher than competitors. EAT's biggest initiative is called Fresh, described as an effort to drive the transformation of the food system. Among the project's partners, Cargill,